Welcome there, Facebook. Hope you're all doing fantastically. Welcome to the live interview. We have Craig Carr here live today. We're going to be talking all things sales, all things revenue growth, increasing your conversions, and taking your business to a whole new level. Welcome as well, SERENA. How excited have we been for this?
This is awesome. Thanks, guys.
I had myself muted. I'm absolutely blown. I'm so excited about today because I've got my two favorite people on here, two best salespeople in Australia that I know of. So rock and rolling.
We will be, definitely. So Craig Carr, who we've got here today, is the founder of Freedom Sales Academy. He's an international speaker and sales expert. He specializes in beginner and advanced sales training and communication mastery. He offers management and leadership coaching and mentoring to high-performing businesses and individuals to massively and rapidly increase sales and profits. So we are so grateful to have you here as well today, Craig. So excited. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having us. Yeah, I was rapt when you guys reached out because I've been following closely what you're doing. And when a lot of businesses are kind of tightening the belt, shrinking in, you guys have been going crazy. So it's fabulous to watch what you're doing and exciting to be a part of this today. So thanks for having us.
You're welcome, mate. You're welcome. So just for those people that may not know who you are, or it might be the first introduction to you, Craig, if you can just give us like a bit of a background story on you and sort of how you came to where you are, and just a little bit about you and what you do and where you've come from, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. So we live on the beautiful Sunshine Coast, which is about an hour north of Brisbane in Queensland, which we don't tell too many people about. We send them down to the other coast. We keep it a little bit quieter up here. So it's our little slice of paradise up here. I'm a happily married husband of 33 years, or about to be 33 years. I remember the date and all, fellas. That's one of the secrets, right? We have two gorgeous children. My son has his little daughter now, so we're grandparents of about 18 months, which is great. And I started my career in selling. I guess I wasn't strong enough to hit the tools, and I wasn't smart enough to become a doctor or a dentist. So I figured out I better learn how to sell something. So that's what I did. That was the plan. The only trouble is I got passed over 3 times for a sale job because they told me I wasn't pushy enough to make it in selling. So this is going back to mid-80s selling, right? So it gives you an idea how long ago this was. And you did back in the day, that's what salespeople look like. Unfortunately, there's too many of those salespeople still around, but more fortunately, I guess, the way sales is perceived, the way sales is being done, if it's being done well, is in a slightly different way. So very quickly, I realized if I was going to be successful in selling back in those days, I had to change my style a little bit. The interesting part about that is we started attracting more and more people to what we were doing. At that time, I was 1 in 18. There was 18 people in the sales team. I was finally managed to get a role doing it. And out of 1 out of 18, we were 45% of the sales. So, which was interesting. All of a sudden, then the company said, okay, so what are you doing differently? And back then, this was many, many years ago, this was kind of where we went on this journey to create a way to sell ethically. Now I call it ESP, my ethical selling and persuasion. So it's sales in a way that's non-pushy. In fact, it's kind of the opposite of sales. We often joke when we take on businesses or take on new clients, I spend the most of my work teaching them to unsell. So we kind of peel back everything that they do, because when we look at it from a brain science point of view, pretty well everything you've ever been taught around how to pitch, how to negotiate, how to sell is fundamentally wrong from a brain science point of view. And we know this because when we're on the tail end of a salesperson or that kind of pushy salesperson, we put a barrier up. We struggle, like we close off. We said, I don't want anything to do with this. We're kind of counting our fingers and toes and making sure we've still got our wallet in our pocket. So we want to do everything the opposite of that. And essentially that's what we teach. So although I've been selling for 36 years and teaching for about 22 years now, my actual education background is in and around communication. So I have diplomas in nonverbal communication, deception detection, and also a diploma in modern applied psychology. So my education background / fascination is to do with kind of inside the head. When we started to apply that to what we were doing in sales, we noticed this is a little bit different. People are perceiving this differently. We're playing a different game. And when we do that then for different businesses, we can kind of cookie cut that across, so we can get very, very rapid turnarounds in top line sales conversions, in bottom line margin improvement, reducing costs across business, streamlining leadership teams. There's so many different elements that we can apply this to different businesses to get fast turnarounds in where it counts, the revenue stuff, right?
100% where it counts. Definitely the breath of fresh air for a business.
That's exactly what it is. And we called the Business Freedom Sales Academy back when we founded it for that very reason, because we believe that sales equals freedom. When you think about it for a moment, everything else in business contributes to cost. If you just stop for a second and think about that, every single thing you do in a business at any level in any business contributes to cost. There's only two things essentially that contribute to revenue in the business, and arguably one. It's sales and marketing. And if you think about marketing as a means toward a sale, really it comes down to there's only one way to generate pure revenue in a business, and that's sales. And this is not like I'm revealing anything to you. I mean, you look at businesses, whether they're large, whether they're medium, if they're listed, you'll see share prices go up when sales go up. You'll see share prices go down when sales go down. So sales is the lifeblood of any business. It has a kind of icky connotation to it, but that's not sales, that's selling. The way selling is often done, it makes us achieve a very, very different feeling, a very, very different mindset. But let's be honest, sales, making sales in your business, taking a customer from no thank you to why not, let's go ahead, that's going to be the differentiator between whether you have a successful business or not.
100%. And I love how you and I are on such the same page with this, Craig, as well. And I want to address something really, really quickly first. And I want to hear your thought pattern on this too. Sure. I had conversations with people earlier this week that had been on sales calls with other salespeople, and they'd been made to feel like shit, right? Talked down on, told that they won't be successful if they don't buy a program. They've been broken down and crying on the phone to people, and they're literally just like ethically from my thought pattern is they've just been just torn down and told that they'll never be made to anything on a call, right? And I know when you're talking about ethically selling, I just wanted to hear, what's your thoughts on that? What's your initial thoughts? If someone was on a call with you and they've said that this is what's happened to them on previous calls, what would be your initial thoughts on that?
It's actually so funny that you said that, because I was literally on a call yesterday with a guy. He just sent out a Facebook friend request to me now because he said it was such a different experience. So I wish I was making this up, but he was on a call, and the kid on the call said they were talking about a 5K ticket or 5K program. So not insignificant, certainly not the dearest, but certainly not the cheapest. Yeah. And was told, if you don't go ahead with the decision on this right now, you are a loser. The kid actually said, you are a loser. Now, the guy obviously, I wish I was making this stuff up. This stuff is still happening in our market today, in our country, right? So this isn't, it's one of those. This is literally happening right now. Here's what the guy actually knew about business. The guy was actually a sophisticated businessman, and this kid's calling him a loser. So the guy thought he didn't have to do that. He could have just hung up the phone, right? He actually said, now listen, young man, if I don't know where you want to take this career, but you need to change the way that you're talking to people. I'm a potential client here, and you're calling me a loser. Here's what the kid said. He said, well, that's how we do things around here.
Oh.
So, I'm certainly not going to mention the organization, and I don't want to spend any more time talking about that. But what you talk about, mate, is so relevant. And I see, for me, and I'm not even that sad about the kid, because it's not the kid. The kid's being told by somebody to do that. I want to find the person that's telling this kid that that's a good way to approach people. Yeah. Now, we all know, we've been on the tail end of those types of sales pitches, those types of sales organizations, and we know what that does to us. Now, the funny thing is even though most of us hate that stereotypical salesman, we hate the sleazy approach, we hate the pushy sort of approach, take that same person and then put them into an environment that they have to sell their own product, their own service, and they go full on into foot in the door, hands around the throat, 80s salesperson. So I don't know what it is that takes somebody from just happily talking about their product, adding value, having a nice conversation, all of a sudden they flip this switch, put this sales hat on, or become something that they're not. That's where we want to break in for people and let them know that selling done right is no different from any other part of the process or any other part of the conversation. I hear, Jarrod, I hear people, SERENA, I've talked to you about this before, where I literally hear people say, these are the words they'll say to me. They say, Craig, I love my product. I love what it is I do. I just hate the selling bit. I don't even know what that means. Like, if you love your product, wouldn't you want people to have your product? So it's what they think selling is. It's what they've been taught selling is. I know I get passionate about this, and it's kind of like, I'll get off my soapbox, I promise. But it's just, I see the way it's getting done, and I just want to scream, no, who told you to sell like that? That's not how to talk to people. Here's the honest truth. If you can talk to a friend, if you can talk to your parent, if you can talk to your cousin, if you can talk to Uncle Bob about a particular product, that's selling. You're actually closer to selling than what you think you need to be. We think we need to do it this way or that way. No, it's just about communication. Now, Jarrod, you talked about ethical. This is the essence of how we teach people to sell. It's about authenticity. It's just about the truth. And when you think about it for just a minute, this is not a trick. It's not actually, is this another sales trick, Craig? No, it's not a trick. It's like, it's literally just telling the truth, just being honest, just being ethical, even if they're not going to buy. Now, if they're not going to buy, they're not going to buy. Wouldn't you rather know that early rather than try and rush through a presentation or do all the things that the so-called sales books will tell you to do? We have one job when we're communicating to a customer. If you've got a product or you've got a service that adds value to a consumer, all you want to do is just get to the truth of what's important for them. Just get to the truth of what's important for them. Particularly if they've sought you out, they've reached you out, they've clicked on your Facebook ad, they've rung you up. Why would you try and pitch them? Just find the truth of why they're talking to you, why they're here today. Don't try and add anything to it, and come to the customer with no agenda. What are they looking for? What are they trying to achieve? What's their result? The moment you start to realize you don't actually sell a product, you just sell a result. And all you got to do is find out whether they're a fit for your result or not. And just draw a line for them and ask them, which side of the line would you like to stand? They'll know what to do. They'll know how to decide. And if you stay authentic, you stay ethical, you've probably got a customer closer than you think you have.
100%. So I know, like, I want to ask you this question as well, right? So we're talking conversations with people. We're having conversations with people.
Yeah.
Now, what's the difference between, like, chit chat, like just chit chatting and conversation, to a sales conversation with someone? So like selling and sales.
Yeah.
So
so a selling conversation is designed as exploratory. So we talk about stop being a salesperson and kind of everything that goes along with that. And the best kind of visual, the best way of thinking about this from a metaphor point of view is think more like a doctor. What does a doctor do? So when you go in front of a salesperson, typically the first thing they'll do is start talking a lot, right? So talk. But you think about a doctor, you sit in front of the doctor, the very first thing the doctor's going to do, you sit in front of him or her, they're going to ask you questions, right? So fundamentally, that's different. So how are you feeling? How long have you been feeling? And that's how we start a sales conversation, just like the doctor. So we call that assessment, all right? So why are you here? Why is this important for you? Why now? What parameters are you setting around this? What would a good decision on something like this look like for you? So it's just asking questions, and the answers are going to come from the patient or the client. All right. So that's what we do first. Step two, it's kind of morphs into what we call diagnosis. So we're still looking at what the doctor does. After the doctor's asked a few questions, they start to diagnose a little bit. So we call this testing. So it's a little bit of a process of elimination. So, well, that makes some sense what you've shared with me so far. So would you be leaning more in this direction, or is it more like something this you're trying to achieve? Tell me what's important about that. Is it more that, or is it more this? So now we're starting to test some of the answers that they've provided for us and see if we can see some sort of a direction, some sort of a desire, some sort of a need that the client has. Because ultimately the doctor can't do anything if the person doesn't have the problem, or the problem they've got is not what that doctor does. So if I'm a heart guy and you're coming to me with a foot problem, I'm a doctor, but I'm not your guy, right? So this is what we're trying to do through the assessment and the diagnosis phase. The really cool part about what the doctor does last, so the third thing is simply recommend. The doctor just makes a recommendation. So the doctor has the power then at that point, because you've answered all the questions, you've given them a little bit of an idea of what you're looking for, the doctor can now make a recommendation. But here's the last thing. The doctor wants you to get better. The doctor wants you to solve your problem, but he's not attached to that. She's not attached to that. And this is the truth. Like the doctors, they're going to still take their BMW and go and play golf on Wednesday, right? Whether you take the pill or not. So they want you to get better, but they don't need that. And this is what happens for a lot of salespeople. They get needy. They're chasing that sale. They're chasing that quota. They're chasing that commission. So they're making it about them, their product, their company. And unfortunately, whether they realize it or not, they just become another person that says, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. The doctor's detached. The doctor has that empathy, but not the sympathy, all right? And they can offer the solution. And because they have the solution to the problem that the customer has, if the customer wants that problem fixed, they'll take the recommendation. Okay, so that's how we turn just a basic chit chat. It's not small talk. It's a conversation designed to do three things: to assess, to diagnose, and ultimately to make a recommendation.
I love that. And I love the whole thought pattern around being a doctor and how the doctor does it, because I think a lot of people have been to doctors. Pretty much everyone that watches live has been to a doctor in the past, so it's very relatable, right? And I love that whole methodology around that. And I'm totally agreeing with everything you say as well, which is amazing, right? Because there's not too many people that think...
Mate, I'm up for a stoush if you're not too, by the way. It's all good.
No. It was part of my rant yesterday. I went on a complete rant around the whole, why people are, forcing people and jamming things down people's throats, right? When it's not, it doesn't need to be like that. It's an act of desperation, and it's just not ethically right. Okay, and people don't respond to that stuff anymore. No. So I love the whole thought pattern around it. So let's dive a little bit deeper into this as well now, because it's like, okay, we're ethically selling now, and we're ethically providing value to our clients. We're diagnosing things correctly. Now, when it comes to general day-to-day business, say a business owner is doing all of this currently, and they've got an ethical approach to their selling. Now, how is business owners then going to be able to get more conversions or increase more profits with their conversations, right? What sort of process do you go through with your clients, or how could someone look at their current conversation rates and go, okay, cool, we're doing all this from a sales perspective. How can we increase our profits, things like that?
Yeah, it's a really, really good question. So there's quite a few things that we'll look at coming into a business. One of the key metrics we look at are conversion rates. So sales conversion. So in other words, if 10 customers come into your business, how many of them actually go out with your product or your service? And we measure that as a percentage. We call that a conversion rate. So in other words, if 10 people are coming in, you're making 4 sales, that's a 40% conversion rate. So we know the general average, if somebody's coming into your business, an organic close rate is usually around about 20 to 30%, depending on how competitive your market is. If you're less competitive, obviously that'll be higher. If your people are well trained, perhaps that'll be higher as well. But that's not a surprise for us to see when we come into a business, a conversion rate around about that 20 or 30%. We can quite quickly get most businesses to between around about 70 to 85% conversion without any more staff, often without even any more marketing. So typically with $0 spent. How we do that is we look at a few things. We look at, first of all, the time they're spending in front of the customer, and the time they're spending per day in front of customers, period. So we find, and this is a shocking statistic, I saw this first of all years ago in the US when they talked about salespeople actually only being in front of a customer around about 20-25% of the day. And I thought straight away, that can't be right. I've used that metric and applied that to different businesses we've worked with. And whether it's 25% or whatever it is for the particular business, it's always low. Now, the reason being, it's not suggesting that you've got lazy salespeople in your team. More often than not, so much other stuff comes into the day, the urgent kind of stuff, the busy kind of work, and it's detracting our time from being in front of a client, a potential client. Or we're spending a lot of time with dead-end clients. So they're not going anywhere. They're permanent maybes, all right? So these are the things that we start to look at with a business, and we start to eliminate this stuff, because I'm a big believer in selling quickly or not selling quickly. So yeses, obviously we love yeses in selling, but if I can't get a yes, give me a no. Just don't give me a maybe. It's not the no's that will kill you in selling. It's the maybes that will kill you in selling. Because are they going to buy? Who knows when they're going to buy? When are they going to buy? So we introduce a four-step process to businesses to take their team through that are keeping them purposely conversational, purposely keeping them on this ethical path. And there's only 4 steps to the process. So there's not a lot of moving parts to it. I've come into business where they've got 52-point sales processes. Like the sales manager can't even recite it to me, let alone one of the salespersons, right? So we give them 4 moving pieces in their sales process, which means if you've turned the water on the tap, if there's nothing coming out of that hose, there's only 4 kinks I've got to look at, and we can tell exactly why it's not working. It'll be one of those things. And this is how they're connecting. This is how they're qualifying and extracting the information, doing that assessment. It's how they're managing their presentation so that they're overcoming objections in the right way, and then ultimately how they're confirming that sale, making that recommendation. So we only need to look at those 4 things. If we eliminate a lot of the busy work and have these people doing the things that they're actually employed to do, and that's revenue generating activities, we focus 85 to 90% of their work now on revenue generating activities only. And this often goes up the chain. So this often goes to middle or even senior, even executive level management, because it's often being driven from there. I don't want to be embarrassing or upsetting anybody with what I'm saying here, but it's just the truth. Most often in business, we need to start from the top and work this back down to your people. The good news is if we can do this with your people, we're actually completing sales faster. So if they're typically seeing 5, 6 customers a day, we can double that, sometimes even triple that from the same person. It doesn't increase your spend because these are the people that are already coming into your business. This is why I'm borderline obsessed with conversion rate, because conversion rate is free for a business. They're already there. These are the people that are already there. They're already coming to you. So if we can just help you convert better, that goes straight to the bottom line in business. And that's exactly what the line that we want to attack straight away.
So, you know, it's you said something there before about, you know, you want the yes or the no, not the maybe. And it's quite interesting because I think about, you know, when you talk about people selling, Jarrod and I have this conversation quite a bit. Like, I can't sell, you know, I'm just not good at it. And yet people have told me over the years, man, you can sell ice to an Eskimo. And I've had to sort of think about, well, how does that work? So I think Veronique posted there before, it comes from fear as well, that I'm a bit of an empath, so I also read body language. And, you know, if I'm not getting the right body language from people, and I know you've done a lot of stuff with the body language thing as well, I tend to sort of, I don't know, like come back into myself and sort of like, oh my God, you know, this person's reacting. Not that I'm saying that, but, you know, I'm seeing the reaction and it makes me pull back and not be able to sell. But if somebody does come in and they're like already a lead generation, they're warm, but if they say no, then I've heard that if they said no, then you haven't been able to answer their questions of what they're actually looking for, because either they're coming in knowing that they need something, but either they don't have the money to spend on anything. So if they say no, how do you actually react to that if it's a legit, they just don't have the money to spend for it, but they do need the service type of stuff?
So there's a few different questions there that it's, so first of all, the way we actually teach selling, Serena, is a little bit different. We don't actually, I teach one close. So I mean, I know there's books on 1,001 ways to close sales and 500 ways to close. So I teach one way to close. So there's different approaches we can take for sure, but ultimately we close a sale one way, and it doesn't involve actually asking the customer to buy. So it's totally unique. It's the ultimate in no pressure selling, because at no point are you actually asking them to make the decision to buy or not. You are asking a series of questions that mean it's a yes or a no. Okay. So there's never a real confronting type pressure cooking situation. So we often don't get no's. We will see when our students are using this properly, they're not getting no's, they're getting what about this, what about this, what about this. So it's more questions. Now, as long as the questions are backwards and forwards, and we've created that rapport, so there's no pressure, it's all ethical, it's all authentic. So if the person's genuinely looking for a solution to their problem, it's just about navigating them through that. So them having some fear come up for them, is this a good decision? Is this something I should be doing right now? This is legitimate. This is actually what we want to see. And what we're doing is we're getting to the truth of that. And it might not make sense for them to go ahead. So rather than us trying to convince them that this is something they should buy, we kind of turn it around. So there's no arrogance, there's no rudeness, but it's almost like, you close me, like help me understand why this would be good for you. Because if it's not, I want to know, right? So we literally, this is not a trick. We take all of the pressure out of the selling situation, and the person's almost got to convince us that this is a good idea for them. Now, of course, if they're convincing us, they're convincing themselves. And if they can't convince themselves, they're not a good fit for it. If they can convince, if they can see the benefit in it for them, if they can see they're better off with it than without it, that the cost of doing nothing is greater than the cost of doing something, most well-meaning, logical people will say, look, I should be doing this. So at that point, it's a matter of you just really navigating any sort of fears that come up for them. And it's quite natural for fears to come up. Am I making a right decision here? Look, I've bought things like this before and it hasn't worked for me. So while we're getting those honest kind of approaches, we can help them with that. So, well, tell me a little bit about that. So to talk to what's the thing you bought before that wasn't good for you, and why might this be different? And we're not trying to sell them anything. We're totally detached. Now, if there's a fit, great, we'll offer them our product. But if not, they're all good. They're all fine. So with this way of doing it, I know it's different. I know it doesn't typically get taught this way, but this will cut through so much faster, and people will enjoy the experience so much better. Even if they don't end up buying off you, even if they're not a right fit, they will enjoy the experience because you haven't pushed, you haven't tried to convince, you're just trying to get to the truth of it. Now, the other interesting thing that you brought up in your question, I'm not even sure if this was an intent within the question, but it's there, and I just wanted to address it for salespeople because this is often the big thing. And I was going to argue with you that you're not good at sales, but you didn't convince me. So I think you're right. You're probably not good at sales, because the thing is, you are, and bless your heart, you're closer to sales than what you think, because you're so authentic, you're so real. You call a spade a shovel, right? Like people, what you see is what you get. This is what people want. This is why people love you, all right, versus run away from the stereotypical salesperson. The moment somebody says to me that person can sell ice to Eskimos, I just freeze up. I just go, oh my goodness, because it's rubbish. The kind of person that would sell ice to an Eskimo is the kind of person you want to run away from, right? So what you are in your heart, you wonderful lady, that's the kind of people, that's the kind of goal, that's the kind of benchmark we want to have from somebody that we want to do business with, okay? Now, I just want to address something. There are reasons for not buying, and there are excuses for not buying, all right? And you tapped on something really, really powerful. The main reason that people don't go ahead is because of fear. And the main reason the salesperson won't keep working with them, keep asking them questions, keep testing whether this is good for you or not, is because of fear. So they fear rejection. They don't want to be told no. So they will bail out. The first sign of the customer's fear saying, oh, I don't know, is this a good idea? Now, I don't know, is this a good idea is very different saying not interested, have no desire for your product, don't need it, don't want it, don't like you, don't like your company, don't like the product. Saying, I don't know if this is a good idea is very different from that, okay? So what we do instead of, it's quite typical, and anybody watching this live now, you'll know what I'm talking about here. If you're in selling, if you're in sales in some capacity, you will know, I don't need you to teach it, you will know when it's not going well, right? Like this is going pear-shaped really fast. They don't like me, they don't like my product. You know. So at that point, when you know what's going on for the customer, you know whether it's a real reason, you know whether it's just a stall or an excuse, or I need to talk to somebody else. No, that looks great. Let me think about that. Like, this is not the truth. This is just what they're saying. So our courage at that point, not trying to chase a sale, not attached to us, but attached to their outcome, is going to help us to ask questions. So when we sense something's going wrong in the sale or something's happening in the sale, what we're teaching our students to do at that point in real time is just time out, to stop, not guess what's happening, not wonder what's happening, not speed our sales pitch up, not get to the close faster, literally just stop and ask, tell me the truth of what's happening right now for you. What's going on in your head right now? Is it, where are you at, right? Do you think is this a no way, this is a disaster, or is this a like, I'm leaning towards it, but I've got more questions? Just tell me honestly where you are right now and stop. We teach our salespeople to actually stop talking. I know it's hard. It's hard in the beginning. It's hard, all right? But when they can get to that point where they can just zip it and listen, not listening like you're hearing and thinking about what you're going to say next, right? Listening to what the client has to say, what's important to them. And if there is a fear, why is that fear there? And is that fear real, or is it just a belief? Is it just an irrational thought? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but you're not going to know until you ask. You're not going to know what your client really wants, what they really need, until you ask. So that's what we teach them to do. Just ask, just find out what the truth of what's happening and navigate it through from there.
Now, following on from that, pardon me, you said that you have to find out what the client really wants. So one of the things that I've seen in all my years of getting to where I am now, working with you guys, doing my own businesses, trying to get it to the next level and quite often not getting there, I've really come to a great realization, I guess now, is that there's two things that people need, and yet they focus on 100 different other things without realizing what they do. And that is, the first one is your marketing, which means just get leads. And how do you get leads? Obviously, Facebook gets you, Instagram, LinkedIn, or whatever means that, give you the leads that come in, because they're the leads of people who obviously like something that you've said or you've shown or you've got, and therefore want to investigate it further. Now, then that's great. So you can get in a ton of leads or something like that. But then, then we get to the sales part, is how do you sell to those leads, and how do you focus on your business of customer service while you're also selling the leads? And this is where I see a lot of people fail in, and they just keep going along the same pathway all the time and not getting to that next level. So then you get to that level of the leads coming through. So then what's the next step for most people? Yes, you've got to sell to them, and yes, you've got to find out that obviously you've got something that they may want. But you may not either have the time, or you may not even have what you have or Jarrod has, or maybe I instinctively have but think I don't, of how to get them to the next level, because like you said, listening or something. So what would people in that situation that are running around like little ants doing all the things that everybody on the internet tells them to do, when there's two basic things that will bring them the final results of what they need? How do you get them to that level? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I do. So, I mean, I still come at that from the same angle. And most people, when it comes to, if they're not doing the sales part of it, they're not doing the marketing part right, and they're doing a bunch of other stuff, really just comes from that same fear. There is a fear for most people around, particularly the sales part of it, not so much the marketing part of it. but actually talking to a client. And they're often okay with talking to the client, but then asking the client for their business, asking the client to go ahead and make a decision on that product or service. So most people will do just about anything else they can to not have to sell. All right. And this is why they become an easy prey for all of the other so-called gurus out there saying, don't do this, do this. So don't do the selling, don't do this, don't do that. Do all of these sorts of other things that will take away from the selling. The truth is, at some point, you've got to be able to articulate your message as a match, as a solution to your particular market's problem. And if you can't do that, you're not going to have a business. All right. That's what we do. I remember reading sort of Edison had to install 10,000 of his electric light bulbs free of charge in businesses because when that first came out, nobody was interested. Well, what do we need? We've got candles. What do we need a light bulb for? So it doesn't matter how good a product is. If you don't have somebody that knows how to sell it, nobody gets the benefit of the product. And the business trying to sell it's not making money. All right. Now, particularly when we're kind of coming out the other side of something that's been so challenging for so many businesses, we need to not shy away from the sales part of it, but we should be embracing that part of it. Mm-hmm. I would suggest sales and sales and marketing is the number one focus for you in the business. I mean, you've got to be good at doing all of the other things as well, but it's often the other things that are probably better for you to be outsourced. Now, I'm not suggesting you don't seek out experts to help you with the marketing, with the sales, but you need to embrace that part of your business is the part of the business that makes you the money. So the how we do, if the rest of your question is sort of more the how we do that, the sales part of it needs to stay in the same mode that we've been in as we've been doing this conversation. So it's about being clear on who you help and then how you help them so that you understand what you're actually selling is not your product. You're not selling a product or a service or a course or whether it's a physical product or a soft product. You're not selling that. Nobody wants that. I mean, how we make money with businesses is by training their organizations. But I can tell you, nobody wants sales training. Who the heck would want sales training? I don't even want to do another sales training. Nobody wants sales training. We just want more sales. Now, here's the interesting thing. We don't even want more sales. We want more whatever that sale gets us, all right? So the revenue. But it's not even the revenue. It's what does the revenue do for us? Does that give us freedom? Does that give us a holiday every now and then? Does that put food on our family's table? So we need to clear, and this is a great exercise for your listeners, the viewers, and this to do. Once you do this, grab a blank bit of paper, list out your target customers. Who do you actually help? And what is it you're selling? And you're not allowed to write your product. You're not allowed to write your service. It's the result. What is the result? Now, we often joke and we talk about, because I've been for many years, we've been dealing with Bunnings, big hardware organization in Australia. And I know their buyers very, very well. We were mucking around one day and said, what are your top selling products? Do you know one of their biggest selling products is a 5mm drill bit? Now, we were just mucking around. I said to the guys at Bunnings, yeah, but I bet nobody wants a 5mm drill bit. Now, they looked at me like I'm an idiot, like I got two heads. Now, most people look at me like that anyway, but it doesn't matter. I'm used to that. But he looked at me. I said, we just told you, Craig, it's 5mm drill bit. So but I said, nobody wants a 5mm drill bit. They all want a 5mm hole. And they kicked me out of the office and beat me up. This is why I don't have friends, you see. No, but we think about it. It's not the drill bit, it's the hole. Now, it's not even the hole. We've got to be better than that because it's not, nobody wants a hole. Gather around, everybody. Look at our 5mm hole. They're putting that hole there for something. They're going to hang up a new mirror, a beautiful piece of art. They're going to hang up the TV bracket for their brand new flat screen TV. Whatever it is, people buy the result of the result. If you're taking some notes in this, put this in big letters on your note paper right now. If you want to increase your sales, you want to increase your conversions, sell the result of your result. So not what your product is, not your product, not your service. What result does that get for a client? But what's the result of that result? Why do they want that? And that's what we sell. So we ask questions around that. Do they want that? How important is that for them? What would that mean for them? What's it costing them not to have that? All right. And help them solve their problem.
I love it. That's fantastic. It's good because, like, I mean, I think a lot of people get caught up in the process and then they don't think about like what is the end outcome that actually someone's after. Because I agree, it's not that 5 mil drill piece. It's like what are they want a hole, but why do they want that hole?
Yeah.
Like, what's the bigger picture? What are they hanging on the wall? What are they, putting up at home? Right? Are they putting mounting the TV on the wall? Right, to be able to watch movies and things like that. So. Love it. That's great.
And when you get to that, then whatever your offer is priceless. Whatever your offer, if the why is important enough and the why of the why is important enough for that client, they will buy it. There's no selling it. If they want it, they want it. I mean, you only have to look at products where there's high demand for, and they'll line up around the street for it, right? So it's just about making what we do as appealing as that, all right? And think back to the doctor. What would the doctor do? Right? I've never seen a doctor on the street corner waving a sign saying 2 for the price of 1. All right. So we make ourselves the restaurant that nobody can get into, not the one that everybody can get into. All right. So some of what you're being taught to do is actually devaluing your business. Posting 1,000 times a day, being on 100 different platforms, doing 50 videos a day. It could be devaluing what you're doing because you're becoming another one of those things that's available to everybody. Be the restaurant that nobody can get into. Everybody wants to get into. There's a lineup to get into this thing. How did you get in? Oh my goodness. How did you even find out about that? All right. Why not be that sort of a person that everybody wants instead of the person that's that you being the chaser and everyone's running away from you, right? So it's just a mindset shift, but it's a big differentiator if you can pull that off in the market.
At some stage, and going back a little bit to what I was talking about, at some stage, and it's I've seen this happen as well, that sometimes you do get very busy in your business with so much happening that you don't even have the time for leads or whatever. You've got to start putting people on, and then that it comes talk about sales people and things like that. So a couple of questions here. One, do then people go looking for someone to sell their business? And I mean, nobody knows your business better than you, but then you can train someone. And and how would they go about doing something like that if they have to bring somebody in to cover the sales because they need to focus on the value they're giving the clients?
Yeah. Well, I love it when any of the companies we work with, any of the businesses we work with, when they're telling me, Craig, we've got to hire new people. I love that. So means they're growing, means they're expanding. It means what we're doing with them is working. So now we need more people out in the field doing that, on the phones, doing that on the computers, whatever. So that's a great sign. To your question as well, with respects to how we get those people, or perhaps the kind of people we bring in, was that the question, Serena?
No, well, I guess because I do know the process, but I know I was at a stage where I didn't know the process. I just sort of kept thinking about it and, discussed it a few times. So I guess other people are in the same spot. Is what do they do? How do they get somebody that will be able to do as good as or better than maybe what they could do themselves to sell their business but knowing how to sell, not sell their business, but, selling what they're wanting to people in at the same rate as what you talked about before, in that same character,
Yeah. So it's just training. It's finding the right people, and then it's just teaching the right people the right things.
Find the right people?
So finding the right people it's looking for the kind of people you want to hire for attitude and work ethic, not skill set. All right. So we can teach the skills. You can't teach the desire. You can't teach the attitude. And often you can't teach the work ethic. Sometimes you can, but particularly for attitude, there was also, I remember really young in my career. So we don't hire people that and tell them to be nice. We just hire nice people. So just, you want to get the people that have got the right attitude, then we can teach them the skill set. And if you're bringing people into your organization to sell, having a lot of sales experience is not necessarily the right thing. Just go with the gut feel. If you're interviewing them, can they hold a conversation? Are they honest? Are they open? Will they work hard? And are they coachable? Will they learn? If they're the kind of people that, no, I've done this for years, I know how to do it, don't worry about it. You don't want them. Don't go anywhere near them. All right? You want people that are open. I mean, this is why you guys and we connect so well, because we've been doing what we've been doing for a long, long time, but I'm obsessed about how much better can I keep getting. It's like every single thing that comes out of it, I'm all over it, okay? So you want people that are like that are always open to learning, always open to a better way of doing it. And then that way you can share with them what you want to do. And where you want them to go, and then be clear set of instructions with the people you bring in with respects to help them to understand why they're doing what they're doing, and then clearly what they have to do, and then how to do it. I see most businesses go straight to how you do something with their staff, but their staff don't know why they're doing it or exactly what it is that they're supposed to be doing, because they don't know it yet, all right? So if we keep in this order, why, what, how, and then give them the action, then measure them. This is the way the human brain works, and this is the way that people will respond well. You made an interesting point, is that when you can bring people in that will sell as well as you or do it the way that you can. Oftentimes, the owner of the business, the founder of the business, the CEO of the business is not the best person to have in sales. We work with a lot of clients that are in that space, so they're quite happy to admit, so Craig, we'd rather not do the selling part of it. So bring somebody in that understands that and will represent your product with the right branding, the right attitude, and the right expectation that you built around that brand.
Mm. Mm.
And I'm just sort of curious. I'm just going to put out there to everybody who's listening, because this is the most, I guess, one of the most important parts of a business, because it's the final part of then when you start to share your expertise and your knowledge and your love and your passion with the people that come into your business, is what question you guys have, because you are sitting here listening, you're all in business. If you're not where your business needs to be now, then maybe there's something you need to understand as well. And if you haven't already gotten that from what's been discussed, put out a question there so that we can answer. So if that helps you to get to the next level, then we've achieved what we wanted to achieve by having all these guys here sharing the knowledge that they have. Because these, Jarrod and Craig, I've worked with, both of them for quite a while now, had the pleasure of touring globally with Craig as well. And apart from being authentic, down to earth, amazing people, the knowledge that they have and how to do it is absolutely mind-blowing. I've learned so much from it. Still not quite that I want to be a salesperson, but I've learned so much from it. Seriously, it all makes so much sense. I keep saying to Jarrod, you just do the sales. I'll just stay behind the background and do everything else, But, the knowledge that you're giving here is so awesome. And I really want to see that people are getting the benefit from it. So, I don't want to say put value in if you're getting value, because people get a bit like robots and then they just go and type it, because they're asked to. Ask a question. Really come out with what you need to take your business to the next level. That's what I would like to see.
100%, right? And like and share this as well, because there's not many places on there's not many places on the internet that actually offer completely free training, actionable stuff that you can physically walk away with and implement into your business. That's without giving an email, without saying who you are, without putting in a contact number and get a sales call and things like that afterwards, right, for the answers, right? So interact, what would you like to know? This is your opportunity to be able to get those questions answered, right? Because Craig's touched on so many golden nuggets that are be worth millions to your business. And he's done that. He's worked with companies like JB Hi-Fi, like nationally known brands, Bunnings Warehouse, so many other large corporations around Australia nationally, and very, very well-known brands. And a lot of what he's teaching with you guys today is exactly what he's putting into these brands. And a lot of it can be put into small businesses. You can put all of this into your startup. You can put all this into your current business, and you can use all of these strategies and get them now in the early stages, not at the scaled stages that a lot of these other businesses are at now. And it will help you grow a lot faster by getting a lot of these little golden nuggets along the way, right? So ask your questions. What is it? Where are you at? What is it that you need to know? What's not working for you right now that you're wanting to nut out so that you can get that answer now to be able to help you move forward later, right? So, and this is what it's all about. It's like, you got to be open, you got to be coachable, and you got to be willing to get a little bit vulnerable as well in the same point in time, because that way then we can have the ability to be able to answer those questions and give you guys something actionable. Because what Craig spoke about just then before, right, as in when you're looking at hiring people, not hiring for experience, hiring for like cultural fit, attitude, and the skills and everything can come. And I know every time we've hired, right, I love it when people come in experienced, that if they haven't got the attitude, they haven't got the work ethic, and when I ask them questions around work ethic and like who they are as people and things like that, it just doesn't marry up from a cultural perspective, right? Because we set expectations on salespeople where we want to have so many calls done per day, so many appointments run per week, right? Because the rest just comes, right? And we've got no problem with hiring a trainee if they've got the right attitude and they are the right cultural fit to the company. The rest can be trained. And this is
that happened too.
Exactly. And this is what's Craig's talking about today. And he's talking about this with national brands, JB Hi-Fi, Bunnings Warehouse. Name a few others, Craig. What other ones are we? I think I saw Super Cheap Auto. Was that right?
Yeah, we work with Super Cheap. We work with BCF. We work with Autobarn. Currently now we're working with some amazing organizations like Just Cuts. Their hairdressing franchise are going global now, opening up in the UK, opening up in other countries. We're working with a large IT manufacturer in Australia, $300 million plus business. And we're working through with a $3.8 billion buying group right now to turn some of our content into an app for their sales staff. So, I mean, sales has never been more important. I'm not saying selling. Remember the difference, right? Sales has never been more important for businesses as it is right now. With many businesses just opening up their doors again in the next week or so. And think about what that means for them coming back out of such a long period with no cash flow to have to try and restock shelves. And we're hearing like big brands like Myer, David Jones now with threats to them being able to get debtors insurance. So that means if they don't have insurance, they're not going to be able to buy stock. They're going to have to pay up front. And so some of these organizations are going to be under a lot of pressure. And you and your business might be feeling pressure as well. Many businesses, we're happy to say, through this period have actually excelled, have come out very, very strongly, but certainly there's many, many others that are the extreme opposite of that. So I don't know where you're sitting, don't know what's happening for you right now, but the lessons that we learn with working with some of these major big dollar companies, they're the same lessons we can apply to, as Jarrod mentioned, whatever level of business you're at. I guess what comes with one of the advantages that comes with doing this for well over 20 years with businesses at all levels now is we've made all the mistakes. We've worked out all the things that don't work. So if you're in that kind of position in your business that you have been making some mistakes, you've kind of been in that one step forward and sort of one and a half step backward kind of methodology, there's easier ways. All right. You may feel like you've been doing the hard way for some time, but there are easier ways. Success in business, just like in life, leaves clues, and we can learn from the successes that other businesses are having and also the lessons that other businesses are learning so that you don't have to make the same mistakes. You don't have to lose the same amount of sleep, the same amount of time, the same amount of money sometimes in learning how to get it right. So as Jarrod says, reach out to people, reach out to the people that have been there, done that. Watch out for the pseudo gurus, the pseudopreneurs, the people that have had like a minute's worth of success and now are preaching that to the world. Watch out. You're right to watch out for those people. If it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't sound right, there's probably a good reason. It's probably not right. Okay. So reach out to the right kind of people with the right kind of advice and just trust your gut. But if you're suffering, don't suffer in silence. There's answers. There's ways to get it right, just the same as there's ways to get it wrong. There's a reason that such a high percentage of business fail in their opening years. They don't manage cash flow. They don't manage sales. The stuff that they did in the beginning to give them some success, they don't keep sustaining. So look for the clues, look for the right advice, be coachable, and succeed, because business is actually not that complicated. It's the people that often come in and complicate it. So if your business feels complicated, if what you're doing doesn't feel repeatable, doesn't feel sustainable, is not predictable, then there's certainly some things we can do around that for you.
100%, 100%. Because this is the thing about sales, right? Sales should be predictable. Yeah. You should be able to go, okay, for this amount of calls that gets made in every month, this is what revenue is going to come in. This is exactly how much in sales is going to come in. This is exactly what, how many pitches we'll have. This is going to be our close ratio, this type of stuff, right? Yeah. All of these stats should be predictable, and then you should go, okay, cool. If I double that amount of volume, then it'll produce me double the result statistically. Okay. Now, for a lot of businesses, it's a hard thing to kind of get their head around, right? Because it's like, like they don't understand even the numbers when it comes to sales as well, right? This is why it's important to understand the numbers too. Like you said before, right? It's like the numbers around specifically time spent on the phone, right? What happens when that's increased, right? When you're running your sales calls more efficiently as well. You're having more of those conversations, more of those sales conversations that aren't selling, right? So I totally love it. Totally love it. So is there anything else you'd like to add around sort of, I guess, steps for businesses to increase the amount of sales that they're making right now? Some of them might be just getting started back into things properly now. And is there any other additional thought patterns that you think could be worthwhile for businesses at the moment to be able to be implementing to increase the number of sales they're making now?
So if there are businesses that have got people out on the road, or whether the people can't be on the road at the moment and they're selling remotely, just look at the amount of their day that is spent on revenue activities, and then look at the quality of their calls, their interaction. So if you're in the position you're able to record your salespeople, whether it's over the phone, or if they are in a position to be able to sell in person, tag along with them. If you're middle management or higher level management, you owe it to yourself to be in the field with your team members at least once a month. There's a lot of research backing that that's about the sweet spot. More than that's not necessary. It doesn't prove that it gets any more results, but there's a big dip in results when it's not at least once a month. Now, being with your salespeople will tell you the truth of what they're actually doing when they're in front of a customer. Even when I'm in a training situation with organizations and I'm with their salespeople, they'll tell me, yeah, Craig, we do that. No, that's exactly what we say, Craig. Yeah, no, we say this, we say this, we say this. Yeah, I know all of that. Then when you actually watch them in front of a real live customer, you think, oh my goodness, that's nothing like what you said you say. So what they do in front of the customer is what they do. Don't pay no attention to what they say they do. When they're in the heat of the battle, as we say, when they're in front of a real live customer, that's what they do. All right. And if you get the cringe factor, trust me, they're doing worse when you're not there. All right. When you're there, they're on their best behavior. So that's as good as you'll see it. So it shocks me when I actually see what salespeople do. And then we can help them. So we adopt what we call a practice feedback methodology as opposed to training. Training is only good for a certain period of time, and then what you teach in most instances is forgotten and they kind of go back to their old habits. So I would encourage you to adopt a practice feedback methodology, more like a coaching thing. If you think about, say, for example, you wanted to take up golf, all right? Now, you imagine the golf pro saying to you, well, here's a stack of books. Go home and read these and you'll be right. You'll be able to play golf. It's laughable, right? What if they said, oh, here's a Tiger Woods DVD. Watch this. You'll be right. It's a joke, right? So you can't learn golf that way. And yet that's how most businesses try and teach selling. So here's a book, here's a couple of YouTubes, or we'll stick you in front of a trainer for the day. But it's a joke. It does not do anything. The golf pro, and you may have experienced this before, but you do golf or tennis or anything like that, the first thing, the golf pro is going to drop a bucket of balls in front of you. They're going to hand you a club and say, why don't you hit a couple? Once you hit a couple, the golf pro says, okay, I can see what's happening. All right. Then they'll give you an instruction. So adjust your grip this way, change your stance a bit this way. Then let's hit a couple more and see what's happening next. So this we call practice feedback. Practice feedback. This is how you actually coach behavioral change. And sales improvement, just like any other improvement area in your business, is creating behavioral change. Now, if you think that that's not a hard thing to do, I mean, creating behavioral change is hard enough to do with children. Try doing it with adults, right? So you're taking somebody that's been doing something that way for a long period of time. You want them to change to something else. Is not going to happen overnight. So spend time with your people, listen to them if it's on the phone, find out what they're actually doing in front of the customer and give them some feedback. Then ask them to practice that, then give them some feedback some more. So, Jarrod, it probably doesn't sound all scientific or anything. It's basic stuff, mate. But this basic stuff is the stuff that's typically not being done in business. So we work with senior level management and middle level management to do three things essentially. One, analyze their salespeople time. How much of their time is being spent on pure revenue generating activity? Then we get them to do a monthly sales review. Every single month, it's a formal review, not just to check in on the figures, but what are they doing with their sales pipeline? What have they got coming down that pipeline? What actions are they applying to where they're at? Formal sales review every month with their team member, and once a month, face-to-face, side-by-side, tag along or listening to their phone calls. Those three things, if middle and upper management will do those three things with their sales team, I promise you, sales will go up and very quickly.
Fantastic. I know Cherry's got a call here, a question here for you as well, Craig.
Sure.
For prevention and resolution services, such as cybersecurity,
yep.
Any thoughts on hot buttons that concern you?
Yep. So if I'm understanding the question, so how our messaging and selling that type of a service, it's very, very clear that what who was the name of the person, Jarrod?
Cherry.
Cherry.
Come on.
So what Cherry is doing is offering a solution to a very high level problem, a very sophisticated problem. Mm-hmm. So you would want to measure what that problem could potentially cost a business. So in fixing if something happened, or just in terms of preventing because of the level of the business of that. So a clear connection to the service that is provided compared to the result that it gets. Now, prevention is always better than the cure, but play out the scenario of what that could mean for that business, what it could potentially do for that business, and the cost associated with rectifying that. All right.
Mm.
Focus on the result, not your product. Focus on that result first, what that could mean, what that would do to the business, what the productivity while they're fixing that, the costs around fixing that, what would that do to that business? And then the preventative measure, obviously your service would be considerably less than that. So when they see the cost of doing nothing is much greater than the cost of doing something, then that is the angle to take with it. One last note on this, and I know it may feel counterintuitive, but talk about it less like you are in that industry. All right. So try and strip out as much of the buzzwords that industry speak and just talk as a human being to that business. All right. We sometimes fall into the trap of wanting to sound impressive, wanting to sound like we really know what we're talking about because we think that's what's important in the sale. Think about the conversation they would have in their boardroom. They would have around the water cooler, or they're having around the lunchroom. So if this is a problem for them, how would they be talking about it? And my guess is they're not talking about it the way you're talking about it. They're talking about more like, shit, right? This is scary. We need to do something about this, or we're in serious trouble, right? And then we go in talking about all these buzzwords and this jargon stuff. It's a different language to the way they're talking. So they're talking from a place of fear or panic or scared or worried or concerned. Talk to that. Get into the conversation they're already having in their head, and you'll connect with them much, much faster. And then understand what their problem is, what they're trying to prevent, and then attach your solution to that problem. Once you make that connection strong enough, and again, they see the cost of doing nothing is greater than the cost of doing something, they'll be a fit for what you're offering. At that point, and only at that point, does now your product become relevant. Prior to that, your product is actually an intrusion. So make sure we're not pitching our product too soon as an intrusion. More work on the problem makes our solution a no-brainer, makes our solution a drop in the bucket.
That's pretty cool, that is, yeah.
Agree, because I know, like, with a lot of, like, you take cybersecurity, for example, and SERENA, you'd understand this as well. Like, there's a lot of buzzwords used in cybersecurity. So it's like all this NCSRO and SBCDR and, like, I'm just making them up now, right? But it's like, it's all this stuff. I'm like, what the hell is this acronym, you know? Like, it's no idea what it is. You have to Google it and go, oh, yeah, that's right.
I said gossip attack to someone the other day, and they said, what's that? So you've got to, you know, like you said, you have to come down. So instead of DOS attack, it's just say, you know, a group of hackers getting on the internet that just send a multitude of traffic to bring your website down. That would make more sense to someone.
Just speak English. Because what will happen, and it's inadvertent, you don't realize you're doing it. Without you actually realizing it, you're forcing them into, so if you're hearing a lot of, that sounds great, send through your proposal, or let's think about that, that's your litmus test that you're confusing them. All right? When it's simple enough for them to go, let's do it, we need to do this now, like, then you know you're talking the right language, okay?
So dumb it down. Dumb it down.
Talk their language. How are they talking about?
Yeah, I totally agree. Right, like confusion is and overcomplicating things is the number one reason why people will want to think about something or send through the proposal or whatever, right? Because they don't understand. There's something that they don't understand or something that they're confused about in the particular process, right? Because let's take like marketing, for example, right, and selling. Like if or sales, sorry, if we're talking about you know, all of the metrics and all of the reporting measures, and we're talking about all of the different methodologies and different reasons why, you know, your salespeople aren't closing deals, or all the little nitty gritty of targeting and how that works on marketing and retargeting and video views. And you're talking about, you know, custom audiences and lookalike audiences and, you know, email marketing and headlines and the differentiation between, you know, all the different powerful, influential words like because, you, and like mentioning someone's name in it and all this sort of stuff. And he's like overcomplicating the process, and everyone's like, what the hell did he just talk about? And it's like, then it's like, well, it's a lot to take in today. I'm going to need to have a think about it and look over the information, right? That you've just spoken about, because it's all alien language. Right. It's so it's like we got to kind of like warm people up to that a little bit and just give them an idea, simple English, right, that someone can understand, and they go, okay, that makes sense.
But it's worth money. If you can get that right, it takes a long sales cycle down to a short sales cycle. You might be doing 10, 15 visits, half a dozen visits now to secure a sale. You might be able to do it in one. You might be able to do it in two. So all of these things add up to putting more on your top line and bottom line revenue. So these are all little things that can make a difference.
100%. Well, this has been a very insightful conversation today. I've had a lot of fun as well, which is like part of what myself and SERENA really enjoy, just having a little bit of fun as well, and getting some questions answered for everybody. All of you that are tuning in live, like and share the stream so this can get out to more people, because like, as I said before, there's nobody else on the whole entire the internet, a page on the whole entire internet that's just giving you all this information for free and bringing you in world-class experts just like Craig here as well, who's working with national brands as well. So, and helping businesses go globally, not just, you know, small business just to expand in one little area, right? Like, you know, some people are. He's taking people globally at the moment, right? So he's speaking to big corporations up to 300, like several billion, did you say, dollars? Or
3.8 billion this buying group is we're just working with now. So yeah, big group. Big
And
group.
he's a gorgeous guy to boot.
Yeah, big group. Oh, yeah. Stop it.
Just a drop in the ocean, 3.8 billion, you know, like, I mean.
Yeah, just a little one. Oh, it's exciting what they're doing though. It's a lot of fun to work with people at that level. But you know, this is exactly what I'm talking about. They chose to work with us over quite a few, obviously considerable amount of companies that were pitching for their business and vying for their business. But they went with us because of the same stuff that I'm sharing with you guys right now. So what we're doing is making a difference in the market. And I know there's a lot of people that are giving you a lot of other different kinds of messages, but just go with your gut. Just speak the way to people that you would like to be spoken to, and you like to be, and you like to speak. Like, if it feels icky, it's because you're doing it in an icky way. So selling shouldn't feel icky when it's done right. Yeah.
100%. And thank you so much. We're incredibly grateful for you jumping on today, Craig, and taking time out on specifically a Saturday as well, when we know that you're so incredibly busy during the week and things like that as well. And you would like to at least take a little bit of time for yourself at some stage on the weekend. So we really appreciate you jumping on today. It's been a very insightful conversation. I've enjoyed it.
My absolute pleasure, mate. It's been always happy to do anything for you guys, and if this helps one or two people out there, that's my job kind of done, right? Let me can I do a little something for the audience that are watching and anybody that's tuned in?
I was going to say, right, like, I would really like to see if there's some sort of way you could add some value to people or help some people in some way, shape or form, with a lot of these methodologies that you are sharing with $3.8 billion companies and things like that. So how could people reach out to you? How could people get some support from you?
Reach out. I'm just on Facebook as Craig Carr, or our agency is called Freedom Sales Academy. If you're interested, and if you want, so what I can do, if you like, if I've shared a link with you just now, Jarrod. Why don't you go ahead? Serena's got it. So this is kind of 45 minutes. It's free training. It's, I guess, everything that we've just talked about. But in a few actionable points that if anybody's selling, anybody's in a sales organization, they're selling for themselves, that wants to find a better way to do it, wants to find a more effective way to do it without being pushy, without being that sort of old school salesperson. It's a free training program. So take that as a gift from me and just enjoy that. And one last final gift with it, that particular link, Jarrod, has an invitation if they would like. And so this is an open invitation to anybody that wants to. It's an opportunity to get a free consultation call with me. So if you're feeling you're kind of stuck where you are in sales, you'd like to improve your business, no agenda, nothing to sell on the call. Just if you want some help, we can give you some help and perhaps give you the framework to make a few of these things we've talked about specific to your particular situation. They can go ahead and book that call with me as well, Jarrod. So there's just a little bit of value and a couple of freebies. Who doesn't like a freebie, mate?
100%. Who doesn't like one?
That's the thing as well too that I love about you guys, and I love working with you, is because most people out there don't have the time of day for somebody for nothing. Whereas, and I'm saying we because, I'm in amongst it as well too, but, it's what I see is you help people so much regardless of whether they do the business or not with you. You've always got time for people. I know sometimes it gets, a bit busy, and that's what, people need to find, the genuine people that are there actually for them. Even though people don't want to do stuff for for free, because then people will start to expect more. It's still, even if you're, paying for a service, you're getting extra value. You're getting more value. What do they say? Because we all get coached by, JT Fox. Give them, what's the saying where you say you give them the value, but then you give more than what that is? And that's what you guys do.
Under promise, over deliver.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Under promise and over deliver. And that's what I love about it. I love about you guys.
We love you.
We love you, definitely. So thanks so much for everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate you guys being on today. Those of you that are on and watching the replay, just let us know that you're on watching the replay and you are getting all of this information and everything from Craig today. Because literally there's been so many golden nuggets today with relation to sales, increasing your revenue, being able to scale your business, like even hiring. We've spoken about so much today, like how to really sell ethically, right? So, and cut through the noise, right? There's so much noise around how you should be doing, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, how you should be selling, how you shouldn't be selling, right? You just want to go to people who are physically doing it right now and have been doing it for a long time. Because there's a lot of people in the sales game teaching sales that, are very new to it themselves and haven't had the tens of thousands of hours of sales calls physically themselves, right? And now they're teaching it other people, right? Because they say it takes about 10,000 hours or 7 years to master a skill. I would say Craig combined over 30 years has done well and truly that 10 times over. So, if you're watching the replay, just let us know that you're there. Ensure that you register for his training, right? It's completely free. It's going to show you how to increase your sales by 212%, right? So I don't know about you, like if you want an increase in sales by 212%, if it's not quite high enough for you, I'm sure he could show you how to do more than that, right? But even if it just did half of 212, I think it would be worthwhile at least checking out that link there that's that he's got access to there as well. Even if it just does half of the 212%, 111% increase in sales would be amazing. And I know I would love a extra 111% increase in our sales here as well. So, I might race you guys to the training as well. So go and check that out. If you want to increase your sales by 212%, go and check out that training. Don't hesitate, just do it straight away. And Craig will show you exactly how to do that in the training in a condensed version in 45 minutes. So thank you so much for jumping in today, Craig.
My absolute pleasure. Great hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, we've had an awesome time today.
And come tonight. Oh shit, we can't. We're in different cities.
Oh, so good. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're going to wrap this one up for today. Make sure that you're following the page and you're seeing every single little bit of content first. Go over this video several times as well. Really get it, okay? Register for the training with Craig. Book a session with him as well. Free consult. Doesn't cost you a thing. No agenda if you want it, right? But at least check out his training and increase your sales by 212%. All right. See you all soon. Thank you so much for tuning in. And see you soon.
Thanks for watching.